story takes us to Newport Landing, Nova Scotia. It's such a tiny place that you won't even find it listed on any of these highway maps. But something really big is going on at Newport Landing. So big, in fact, it has the whole community involved. So, let's go see what all the fuss is about.
Hello.
The wind is blowing hard and cool. The sky is dark. But threatening weather isn't going to dampen the spirit of these Nova Scotians. They're here to celebrate something.
How would you guys like flags?
The likes of which has not been seen here in well over a century.
Hi.
Good luck.
Thank you, Payson.
It's the launch of the schooner Avon Spirit, and it's drawn a crowd of more than 1,000.
Yeah.
They've gathered on the banks and on the water of the Avon River, waiting to see this 54-foot beauty slide into the Bay of Fundy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the christening, naming, and launching ceremony is a simple yet traditional ceremony of the sea. And that's what we'll be doing here this afternoon.
Local resident Hugh McNeil is a retired vice admiral. He's been around a lot of ships in his time, but he's never been as involved as he is with this vessel, a reproduction of the last wooden cargo schooner built in Nova Scotia.
It's going to be pretty exciting, let's face it.
You bet.
You know, Blue Nose is a wonderful ship, but she can't come up this far. There's no equivalent ship at all in these waters. In fact, not many around Nova Scotia.
Great ship. Great ship. Are you Vice Admiral Hugh McNeil, RCN retired?
I acknowledge that.
You do?
Yeah.
Hugh's unflappable ally is George Mounts. He's the grandson of a 19th century sea captain and shipbuilder.
Thanks, George. We have very many people to thank. First and foremost, the man who had this idea and who's very definitely and correctly the father of Avon Spirit.
The father of the Avon Spirit. How do you feel about that title?
Ideas are cheap, but ideas are no good unless somebody puts them into practice, and this is the guy that puts things into practice.
Boy, that is one impressive ship. What inspires two guys like you to suddenly build a wooden schooner?
You have a wedge there, Denny?
Well, we started a little society here for the preservation of the maritime heritage, and one of the things we wanted to have in the museum was the skeleton of a ship, just the bare outlines.
Why stop at the skeleton? Why don't we build a square topsail schooner?
And George had the vision to get this going.
Building a square topsail schooner seemed like a natural project for Newport Landing. After all, in the 19th century, this river port on the Bay of Fundy was a bustling and prosperous shipbuilding center. When I think of shipbuilding, I think of a wharf by the sea. Here you are with a river with a tidal bore and a mud-flat bottom.
Exactly. Any place that had access to tidal water and the materials reasonably close at hand and the skilled people and the guts of certain people to take the risk, that's what made all this happen. And in a way, we're trying to recreate a little bit of that in a teensy-weensy way.
But recreating the past costs money. In this case, $400,000. No problem, though, George said. We'll form a company and a cooperative and sell shares in both.
We would like to thank all the shareholders in Avon Spirit Incorporated and the Cooperative Limited.
You knew as soon as you got started, you'd win over the skeptics.
Sure. I guess actions speak louder than words. Start something and you can see it's there. That kind of shuts them up, doesn't it?
And very importantly, thank you to all those very skilled craftsmen who have kindly brought their skills to this happy project.
Skilled workers weren't available locally, so the shareholders turned to Lunenburg County and the shipwrights who refit Blue Nose 2.
Well, what we have here, we've been doing for the last 2 centuries.
Master shipbuilder Philip Snyder is the foreman on Avon Spirit.
Ships built here in the late 1800s, and the largest ships probably in North America. And what we're doing is trying to revive it here, and that's what we have here today, as you can see.
So you heard a lot of good, I'll bet you.
It does.
Well, you have a right to be proud. This is magnificent. One of the benefits of this project is already evident. Local craftsmen are now learning the ancient skills of wooden shipbuilding.
Can you hear that noise that's going on now? There's something.
And Hugh believes you're never too young to learn these old skills.
That is being done by a man who's a caulker, but pronounced in Nova Scotia, corker. Vernon, it might be a good idea if we got the other excavator just to hold the cradle so it can't slide off here.
It's only a couple of days until Avon Spirit is launched.
Good old days, it would have been done by yokes of oxen.
Like the commander of a ship, Hugh keeps a watchful eye as the schooner creeps across the soccer field, bound for the Newport landing wharf.
Geez, maybe we should have built the shipyard over there. I don't know. Yeah.
So what's going to happen to her ultimately?
Ultimately, she'll have to be sold if we're going to carry on with the second vessel. We think it's a good thing to do because to keep the skills alive, you have to be building ships.
I name this ship Avon Spirit. God bless her and all who sail in her.
Wow, a great celebration.
Congratulations, Hugh.
Thank you.
George, I have to ask you, what are you feeling?
Well, relieved, I guess you'd say. See the thing's finally in the water, even though it's not quite complete. It is in the water, and it is floating, I guess.
And Hugh, how are you feeling?
I feel wonderful. It's a dream come true. A lot of people said, well, is this going to happen or is it not? But now it's proved to be a reality, and they can see that perhaps there's a good future in this.
They charted a course and steered it well. Now, those who believed in the dream hope Avon Spirit will go down in history as the schooner that brought shipbuilding back to Newport Landing, Nova Scotia.